So game week 3 of FPL 2023-2024 has come to an end, and before we get into how I done and game week 4, I do want to just say make sure you guys like, share, comment, and most importantly subscribe, because we are very close to that 1000 subscriber mark. But game week 3, very frustrating week if I'm being 100% honest. There was a lot that went wrong, there was a lot that could have went better, and I'm going to get straight into it and let's not talk too much. So how I done in game week 3, I finished on 49 points and I went down the rankings by a lot. This was red arrows galore. Somehow in my mini leagues I managed to stay in the top 1 or 2, but overall I took a massive downfall. So I finished on 49 points. I did take a -4 with 2 transfers. I bought in Nicholas Jackson and Saar, who was on my bench, because I just thought that taking out the players that I did and bringing these players in will be better for me, which they were, because as you guys remember, I took out Eze, bought in Nicholas Jackson, so it was better for points. However, if we add on now the points that I took to bring them in, it wasn't really that much of a difference. Maybe 2 or 3 points I gained from it. So this was how I finished last week. Some players did what I thought they'd do, and some players just had an absolute mare. So for example, in goal, I didn't even start Areola. He was on my bench. I had Martinez to start against Burnley, but he was injured, so he didn't play. So Areola came on from the bench, and he actually finished with 5 against Arsenal, which is decent. I'm going to be 100% honest, because Aston Villa did actually concede in their game. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken. So Areola coming on was probably the best thing to happen out of this week. Then we had Estepinian. Brighton got absolutely slumped against West Ham. Nobody saw that coming. But a lot of the game have Estepinian and Mitoma, so that doesn't really matter. Next up we have Chilwell. He done what I wanted him to do this week. He got himself 6 points, which is very good. What you want from a defender, really, just to get the clean sheet. That's what defenders are in the game for. But the problem that I made, the mistake that I made this week, was going with a back 4. I don't do it. This week I've done it and it backfired on me, because Saliba finished on 1, conceded 2 against Fulham obviously, and then Wan-Bissaka conceded 2 against Nottingham in the first 5 minutes of the game, and I'm pretty sure he got a yellow card as well, which is why he got 0. So he got me no points. So even just starting Saar would have got me an additional 4 points, which is very frustrating, because just before the game started I had Saar in my team to start, took him out because I thought Wan-Bissaka was going to get an easy clean sheet, and obviously Saar came up with an assist. So that was very frustrating. That was one of the most frustrating things about the week. Even though Man United did go 2-0 down, they managed to come back and win the game 3-2. Marcus Rashford getting 2 assists on FPL. Not sure if he got it in real life. I think in real life he only got 1. But in FPL he got 2, so he finished with 7 points, which is not bad. However, it's not what I was looking for Marcus Rashford, which I'll get onto when I show you guys my team for game week 4. Next up we had Saka, scored a penalty. Obviously Arsenal drew that game 2-2. It wasn't the best game for Arsenal or for anyone in that team in particular, but this time Bukayo Saka scored the penalty. Odegaard didn't take it this week. We had 2 penalties 2 weeks in a row, and Saka came up with the goal this time. Next up we had Salah, 3rd week in a row that he's got 5 points. It's a very consistent thing that Mohamed Salah is doing right now, and it's quite frustrating, because at some points I feel like I want to take him out, and then I see him getting 5 points for 3 weeks in a row. He is my most consistent player in this team, so I can't just take him out. But yeah, Liverpool were another team that 1-0 down with 10 men, by the way. Van Dijk getting sent off, and then Darwin Núñez comes on and gets 2 goals. So Liverpool very lucky there. And then obviously I already spoke about Mitoma and Brighton getting slapped by West Ham. Mitoma got himself a yellow card as well, so he finished on 1 point. But like I said, many people own him, so that wasn't a very that wasn't something that affected me too much. By the way, my midfield in Rashford, Saka, Salah and Mitoma are the 4 most owned midfielders in FPL. So I thought next week it was time for me to make some differentials, which I did, which I'll get onto in a minute. And obviously I bought in Nicholas Jackson. He scored against Luton, got us 7 points. I'm going to talk about his teammate in a minute as well. And then obviously Haaland, I believe, missed a penalty, if I'm not mistaken, but he did score, so he finished on 8 points, which is not great, because you would have expected him to get at least 2 goals and maybe an assist against Sheffield. But is what it is. It wasn't the week that I wanted. If you remember last week, I said that my team looks very well set up for this week, and boy was I wrong. The only people that contributed to my team were 3 of my midfielders and both my strikers and maybe a defender. other than that, it wasn't the best week. I'll be 100% honest. I took a major dumping in the overall rank, which is frustrating. Took the -4 points, and then that takes me on to this week, which I took another -4 points. I made 2 substitutions, and as you can see, I took out Marcus Rashford. He was frustrating me. I had him in for 3 weeks, and next up he has Arsenal. I know he normally does quite well against Arsenal, normally can grab a goal or an assist, but I just don't have much hope on him, if I'm being 100% honest. So I took out Marcus Rashford and I bought in Raheem Sterling. The form that Sterling is on right now, you can't not have him. He got 2 goals and an assist against Luton, and he was absolutely amazing in the 2 games prior to that. One of their best players from those games. So I bought in Sterling. He has a very good fixture next in Nottingham Forest, hoping that he can do what Rashford couldn't. I just had to bring him in. He's £2 million cheaper than Rashford as well, which is why I done my transfers early, because he would definitely gone up in price. So I bought him in early, and then the other player I bought in and is my captain right now. I don't know if it's going to stay like that, but Mikel Antonio, he and West Ham are having a decent season so far, and they've got Luton next. This is a game where he could bag points, and there is more room for points against Luton than there is for Rashford against Arsenal. So I took the risk of taking the -4, and I bought in Antonio, and I made him my captain because I think he's a better captain choice than Haaland right now, just because of the way Haaland's performing. And then obviously up front remains Nicholas Jackson, who's obviously part of that team that have Nottingham Forest, and then Chilwell as my 3rd Chelsea player. So that is my team for next week. The other player that I bought in, by the way, is Udogie. He has been absolutely amazing in the last 3 games. He got 12 points in his last fixture, and I think in his next fixture against Burnley, I don't know why I couldn't see that, or Burnley, is another place where he can get points, potentially a clean sheet as well. Tottenham are one of those teams that I think are going to do better than people thought this season, I'll be 100% honest. There is one player in this team that I have put in or kept in that I think is going to have to take the hit, because I don't want to take any more minus points, and that is Saliba. I do think Man United will score. I just need to hope it's not too many goals and there is a bit of damage limitation there. In goal, I've started Areola this week, obviously with the chance that Martinez is still injured. So Areola starts against Luton, same as Antonio, so it's not a bad replacement, especially with his price. No one expected him to really be the starting goalkeeper for West Ham, but he is. And he's got Luton next week, so it could be a very good place. This week I've decided to start Sarr, because if you actually watch Tottenham, Sarr is in the box a lot. He takes a lot of shots. He's part of the play. He's that midfielder that comes in the end of crosses and is there to finish them. So I think he's a very good player to have. And then obviously the rest of the team remains the same. So that is my team for next week. That is how I've done in game week 3. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I think my team could do alright next week, but I said that for last week, so let's see what happens. Hopefully I can go back up into the 200,000 in the overall rank. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. You guys will see how I've done in game week 4 and what I'm going to do for game week 5. So I'll see you guys next week.